will decide whether or not to allow abortion. Pro-life groups are ramping up spending, too, in an effort to convince state lawmakers to choose life. Planned Parenthood has very deep pockets, though. It receives millions in taxpayer dollars, along with donations from big-money Democrats. Michael Harrington, SRN News.
A second Australian state has banned public displays of Nazi symbols. New South Wales, that's the nation's most populous state, has followed Victoria, which banned the public display of swastikas in June. The measure does allow for the swastika to be used in academic, historical, or educational settings, thereby paving the way for its display by Hindus, Buddhists, and Jains, from whom it holds its religious significance. This is SRN News. Gearing up for a fight with Twitter, Elon Musk sells $7 billion worth of his Tesla stock.
The CEO disclosed in a series of regulatory filings he unloaded about 8 million shares of his company in recent days as he attempts to back out of an agreement to buy Twitter for $44 billion. He's accusing the company of fraud, breach of contract, and violation of the securities law in Texas, where he lives. He claims Twitter held back critical information and misled his team about the size of its user base. Musk is by far the largest individual shareholder in both Tesla and Twitter. Rhonda Rockstra reporting.
Wall Street capped a choppy week of trading with a broad stock market rally on Friday as the S&P 500 notched its fourth consecutive weekly gain. The benchmark index closed 1.7% higher for a 3.3% weekly gain. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was up 424 points at the closing bell. More on these stories at srnews.com.
The following program is sponsored by the law offices of Patrick L. Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Get ready with your legal questions and call Patrick now. 877-943-9673. Again, that's 877-943-9673. The law office is open. And now your host, Patrick Smith.
Oh, hi there, and welcome to another edition of the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith, and today is Saturday, August 13th, and we are with you for the next hour to answer your legal questions. So we're happy to help any way we can this morning. 877-943-9673. Give us a call now. You can call in live, open studio lines, and we'll be happy to get you right on the air. And the number again, 877-943-9673. For those of you new to the program, again, we did add recently the Beasley Media Group and 1010 Money Talk. So we appreciate all the new listeners there and all our regular listeners on our previous 14 stations, but now a total of 17 stations listening to the show. So any of our listeners out there, old or new, call in with your legal question, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. So you can call in now and ask your question live on the air. We have open studio lines to get you and your legal question in touch with me. I'll give you the best answer I can live over the air, and you and the rest of the listenership gets the benefit of the answer. So feel free to call in now, 877-943-9673. You can also email your question. A lot of people take advantage of that. It's patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com, and a lot more people taking advantage of the website. Since we recently revamped and relaunched the website, attorneypatricksmith.com, you can check out old archive versions of the radio show through the website. You can pause and rewind and listen on demand to prior broadcast through the website. You can also submit your email questions directly through the website. So check out attorneypatricksmith.com to submit your question, email me, or just give us a call now, 877-943-9673. So when we're looking for a topic for this week's discussion in the backdrop of your calls, I asked my office staff, and my senior paralegal, Becky, actually came up with the idea. So shout out to Becky for coming up with this great idea to talk about the raid and the execution of a search warrant on a former president's home. And you can call in with your opinion on that, but we're going to focus mainly on kind of the legalities of it and the legal aspect of it. But if you have an opinion one way or the other, or a thought to add to something we're discussing, feel free to call in and add your 2 cents. You can also just call in with your legal questions as well, 877-943-9673. 967-3. So to give you a little bit of the background leading up to the raid on former President Trump's home on Monday, this past week, August 8th, the National Archives reportedly, this is according to Forbes, asked the Department of Justice to investigate President Trump taking the recovered documents to Mar-a-Lago in February, and the agency was probing the matter by April, according to the Washington Post. Grand jury was convened and the case issued subpoenas in May. Investigators reportedly traveled to Mar-a-Lago in June, seeking more information about the documents and where they were being stored, according to CNN. Trump aides were interviewed in April and May, and that was in connection to the same probe. The raid conducted on Monday was to ensure that there weren't any documents still left at Mar-a-Lago that the FBI hadn't discovered. A source familiar with the investigation told CNN, noting agents took boxes of items with them. And Trump's son, Eric, said on Fox News that he was told by the National Archives wanted to corroborate whether or not former President Trump had any documents in his possession. So there's the narrative, the backdrop behind all of this is whether or not President Trump had kept certain items, and this, of course, would have been a potential violation of the Presidential Records Act, which is codified in 18 U.S.C. 1924, which basically says it's unauthorized removal and retention of classified document or material, which makes it a crime to knowingly remove these things with intent to retain them without authorization. So there's the backdrop. We'll get into a little more detail about where we go from here and kind of some more intricacies about the legalities surrounding getting a warrant like this and executing a warrant like this. So 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. Today's show, I'm your local Central Florida attorney, Patrick Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. And let's go to our first caller of the day. We're going to go to Bill in Tampa. Bill, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Thank you. Good morning.
Hey, Bill, how can we help you today?
I have a very quick and easy question that I don't think requires a barrister's license to answer, but it's basically, how would I add my spouse to my deed on a house? In other words, the deed is currently held in my name only, would like to add my spouse to it.
Is there any encumbrance on the deed? Is there a mortgage or anything? No.
It's mortgage-free.
So you own it free and clear. I think you can simply do a quick claim deed. You know you hold good title under a warranty deed. And I think that any sort of, you definitely want to sit down with your accountant and make sure you account for the gift taxes. A lot of people miss this one, I think. When you transfer property to a spouse, even adding their name to a deed, that can be a taxable gift. But you always want to check with your accountant on that, because last time I spoke to an accountant about this, any taxable gifts to spouses are also 100% deductible. But that leads to a lot of people thinking that you don't have to report the tax. It just means you still report it, but because it's reported and deducted, you don't have to pay anything. But because of that non-payment, a lot of people think they don't have to report it at all. I think a simple quick claim deed could get your spouse's name added, but I think you also want to have a brief conversation with your accountant to make sure the requisite tax forms get declared to the IRS.
And the quick claim deed, we can just file it with the county?
Yes, sir. You can record it with the county.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Bill. Have a great day. All right, you're listening to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, and that's how you do it. You call in just like Bill did with your legal question, 877-943-9673. We're live and local, happy to help any way that we can this morning. So call in with your question, 877-943-9673. So a lot of you may be wondering what the standard is for obtaining this sort of federal search warrant. And the standard for obtaining one like the one used in Monday's raid is that a judge reviews this and agrees that there's probable cause of a crime and that there would be evidence at the place to be searched of said crime. So that's the standard. And that means a judge looked at this and said, yeah, I believe there's probable cause that a crime was committed, and I'm going to execute this search warrant. We'll talk more about the search warrant here in a moment. But if you have a legal question, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. All right, let's go to my hometown, Winter Haven, Florida, and let's talk to Joanne. Joanne, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Yes, hi.
How are you, Joanne? How's my hometown today?
Oh, it's good.
All right. How can we help you today, Joanne?
My mother passed away back in 19, very suddenly.
Oh, I'm
She
sorry
was
about your
in a
mom.
nursing home. And it wound up that it was a wrongful death. And we do have attorneys, but I'm just wondering how long it would take for them to resolve this situation. My mom wasn't sick, but she was. What they said was she was having trouble breathing. Rushed her to the hospital, and the next thing I know, she was on a ventilator, and that was the end of her.
Joanne, first of all, I'm so sorry about your mom. That's terrible. I'll say a prayer for you and the rest of the family.
Thank you.
In addition to that, you said you have counsel, so I'm kind of limited on what I can say. The only thing I can do is encourage you, reach out to your existing attorney and ask them these same questions and let them give you the answers that you hired them to give you. It's going to limit my ability to help you this morning in light of the fact that you have counsel, okay?
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I was just we've never done anything like this. We're just so, upset that this happened, and we figured let's do something here because unfortunately these nursing homes are horrible.
Yeah.
And I'm just how long it takes.
Yeah, let your attorney give you the answer to the legal question. But in terms of what you went through with the loss of your mom, that's called trauma, Joanne. And I want to encourage you, if you're not seeing, a good family friend or a professional grief counselor or someone, I encourage you to do that, to work through that grief and trauma, and don't bottle that up. That can be toxic if you just bottle that up on the inside. You need to work through that in one way or another, and I would encourage you to do so. But as far as your legal questions, reach out to your attorney, and they'll be happy to give you the best answers they can.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome, Joanne, and good luck to you, okay?
All right, thank you.
You're
Bye-bye.
welcome. Alrighty, 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number to be part of our show today. You can call in with your legal question. You can call in with your comment on the raid of former President Trump's home on Monday, as we discussed that in the backdrop of your calls. 877-943-9673, live and local open studio lines. I'm attorney Patrick Smith, and we're here to help. So we'll be here with you until the 9 o'clock hour. 877-943-9673, or email your question, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. Let's go to Joan in Sarasota. Joan, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Hi, good morning. This is Joanne in Sarasota.
Hey, Joanne, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm pretty good via Lakeland.
All right.
I want to say I think what they've done to this president has given him a spotlight and an illustrious spot in history, while Pelosi, Schumer, and Pencilneck will be nothing but a comma. Down here we made him Statesman of the Year for 2 years prior to his running for president, and he spent time here. We've had fundraisers, etc. But it's a bleak day for the country when this happened. I mean, I'm a senior citizen, and I understand the implications. And they've gotten so close to their nonsense that they believe they can charge him with espionage.
Well, and here's the question, Joanne. If we go into this and you look back at the former attempts or the previous attempts where they've investigated President Trump, remember it was Russia for a long time.
Right, exactly.
And that didn't stick. And then it was the impeachment. And although he was impeached, he was not removed from office. And I think that what his opponents are failing to realize is each one of these attempts to sort of prosecute or, in their mind, take down President Trump, every attempt that fails is only making him stronger. And,
exactly.
And I think that that's the ultimate sign. When you try to impeach a president and you impeach him but don't remove him from office, that's a loss. That's not a win. Impeachment without the removal is really a shallow or an empty victory. It's a Pyrrhic victory altogether. So I think
they had the opportunity to take all those records when they were there. And we're all going to think there was something nefarious going on. Removing the records, they could put anything they wanted in those records and say it was there.
Well, I think
so
also
we're not going to trust them at all.
The interesting point here is whether or not a president with the stroke of a pen can declassify documents. And if the
He said he
documents are
did.
declassified, which is exactly what the President Trump camp is saying, is that we declassified these documents, so there's no violation. And we'll get into that here in a minute. But Joanne, great point. You're right. They're putting attention on him, giving him a spotlight, and the old saying, "There's no such thing as bad publicity." And I think
Well, I'll leave you with this thought. I'm telling people, remember November and turn right.
Well, Joanne, we appreciate you calling in and we appreciate your perspective. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All righty, listening to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. Give us a call now. We're live and local and happy to help any way that we can. You can also email your question to me, Patrick, at attorneypatricksmith.com. And speaking of the warrant, it was unsealed yesterday. And Yana, the Belarusian producer, was nice enough to print me off a crisp, clean copy that I have now in my hands of the warrant to search President Trump's home and the inventory of the items that were actually seized. So we have a list here for you to go over before we go to our next caller. I sort of skipped over the various box labeled because there's a lot of that. So just there's a lot of miscellaneous box labels in here, but I'm going to go over the more interesting points. There's an executive grant of clemency regarding Roger Jason Stone Jr. Y'all remember that being in the news. There's info regarding the president of France, leather-bound box of documents. Interesting that it's leather-bound. Various classified TS/SCI documents. We'll get into that here later in the show. Potential presidential record. Various photos, miscellaneous top secret documents, miscellaneous confidential documents, miscellaneous secret documents. And you'll see that throughout the list. Confidential versus secret versus top secret. And you might be wondering what the differences are there. So in the executive agencies, confidential means that the release of this information could damage national security, could do damage to our national security. So that's when it says the word confidential information. When it says the word secret information, that means the release of that information could do serious damage to national security. And of course, top secret, the highest tier of clearance, means that the release of the information could do grave damage. So there's your tiered systems. So when you're reading through that inventory and you see the difference between confidential and secret and top secret, that's it. It has to do with the level of damage potentially done to national security should that information get released. So confidential would mean it does some damage to national security. Secret means it does serious damage to national security. And top secret means it does grave damage to national security. So if you have a legal question or a thought on the raid on President Trump's house, you can call in now, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673, or email me, Patrick at attorneypatricksmith.com. All right, let's go back to Polk County. Let's talk to Robert in Bartow. Robert, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Hello.
How are you, sir?
Hello, can you hear me? I'm doing not too good. My father passed away, and we ran into running into some issues with his burial as far as he had money in the bank to bury himself with. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, Robert. I'm so sorry about your dad.
Yes. And he lived with me for the last 2 years of his life. He did marry someone in South Carolina. We're trying to find out whether or not they ever did divorce, but he has not been in that person's presence for the last 20 years. He moved to Florida. That person stayed in South Carolina. So we want to know what kind of difficulties are we going to have, at least getting the money to bury him.
Well, Robert, did your late father leave a will by chance?
He did not leave a will.
So he died what we call intestate then. That means he has no will. Did he have any sort of prenuptial or postnuptial agreement with his wife?
That I know of, no.
All right. Let me ask you this last question. Were all of the children common? Did all of your dad's children and all of his wife's children match up, or were there children outside of that marriage?
All right. They had no children in common.
They had no children in common. And you don't currently have an attorney representing you on this matter, correct?
No,
Okay.
not at this moment.
So under Florida statute, basically it would go half to your late father's children and half to his spouse, presuming he's a Florida resident. Now, you mentioned a connection to South Carolina. Did he happen to pass away in Florida, a resident of South Carolina, or was he a Florida resident at the time of his passing?
Yeah, he's been a Florida resident for the last 20 years.
Yeah, so he's governed by Florida law, and that's going to say half goes to his spouse, the presumption there, and then half would go to his lineal descendants, his children. So at the end of the day, that's the split I see, absent some sort of testamentary vehicle being in place or some sort of prenuptial or postnuptial agreement being discovered regarding a waiver of rights to inherit on behalf of the spouse.
Okay, all right. That's not what we want to hear, but if that's what the law is, that's what we needed to find out.
Yeah, I hate giving that news, Robert, when it's not what you want to hear, but it's the right answer. And this is the product when people, not to speak ill of your father, I'm not trying to do that in the least, but people who fail to plan their estates, this is the product of that. It is a matter of giving bad news to the family, because when the plan is not written in place, it's a surprise to everyone, because we have to take a look at the family and the finances at the time, and then the statute, and see how it all lines up, and we all find out together what their estate plan is going to be. But the fathers of the world in this case, and mothers out there, all parties have the right to plan their estate so that they can avoid the surprises to the family when they pass. You can memorialize your wishes in writing through a good will or trust, some sort of testamentary vehicle, and it takes away surprises and bad news like the news I had to give you here a few moments ago, Robert.
Yes. Okay, well, I thank you so very much. That at least got us out there and we know what's going on.
Well, Robert, I'll give out the office number here in the show. If you want to call us during the week, we're happy to help any way we can, okay?
Sure. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, you're listening to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. You give us a call now, live and local. Happy to help any way that we can. 877-943-9673. Or email me, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. Now, a lot of people have criticized the Department of Justice, or the FBI, and saying that the raid on President's home was politically motivated. And I think that there's an argument to be made for that, but I think as a counter argument to that, consider this fact. Within the FBI and in most of the executive agencies, there's a general rule and desire to not tamper or interfere in any way with the election process. And in fact, this is, there's a codification of the rule within agencies such as the FBI that they try not to do things like this, a raid within 90 days of an election. And so if you count the days, you'll actually discover that Monday was 92 days away from the election. So maybe the raid, even if it was politically motivated, at least the timing of it appears to have been somewhat sensitive to not trying to affect the election process, with it being on the 92nd day. And there's this 90-day rule in place where it's a politically sensitive move, they call it. So if you have thoughts on that, feel free to call in 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673, or you can email me directly, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. All right, let's go to a very patient Mike in Venice. Mike, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Well, thank you, Patrick. I really enjoy your show, and I just have a quick estate question.
Well, thank you for your kind words, Mike. Go ahead.
Yeah. My mother passed away at 95 recently, and lived a great life, so happy for the fact that hopefully those good genes will transfer over. But with that being said, she had established a trust. And when we contacted her, the attorney that formed the trust, the attorney says, well, I really need to collect $2,500 to do a probate, set up a probate. And then she let slip that, well, since you could also do a quick probate is which would be somewhere in the $350 to $400 that you could do yourself. So you let that slip out. So what I always understood is you do a trust to avoid probate of any kind, and everything just sort of goes right through the trust seamlessly. But is there some sort of probate still that has to take place?
So, Mike, just to make sure I'm not stepping on any toes or breaking any rules, you don't currently have an attorney representing you in this matter, correct?
No, I don't.
All right. So the answer is anything in the trust is by definition going to avoid probate. And for a lot of you out there new to the show, new to this concept, let's just give you the brief 101 on this. Probate is defined as the transfer of assets from a deceased person's name to the appropriate living beneficiary. And going from a deceased person, it has to be probated, or the literal Latin translation of that term means to prove the intent of the deceased. The way the living trust works is it is a living entity. It is separate from you, but fully owned and controlled by you, like you're safe. You can put things in, take things out, so long as it's revocable. But the moment you enter eternity, everything in that trust will go from living trust to living beneficiary, and by definition avoid probate. However, if something is outside of the trust, and the most common example of a probate asset can be something that was orphaned, it would be a small checking account that someone forgot they had at another bank. Sometimes they're major issues. It may be like a wrongful death suit, and there's a settlement that comes in post-mortem. Obviously, the decedent didn't have a chance to put that in the trust because they died in the accident that produced the settlement. So usually a probate is only required when there's assets in the decedent's name without any co-owner on there or beneficiary designation upon their death. And when it comes to that, there's essentially 3 tiers of probate under Florida Probate Code. If it's less than $6,000, you can usually do something called a disposition without administration. Above that, you're going to have to do something called a summary probate, which is for estates outside of any exemptions of less than $75,000. $75,000 and above is a formal probate. So those are your tiers to the probate process, Mike.
I gotcha. So as long as all her assets were, I think she had a few stocks and then some checking accounts were in joint name with my brother and myself. So those can be dispersed, from what I understand. But for the most part, anything that, which I don't think there is, any other assets that she had acquired that didn't make it into the trust, then we shouldn't have to do any kind of probate at all.
If everything was in the trust, nothing in the trust is required to go through probate. Do you recall who the trustee of your mother's trust is?
It is my brother and myself, I believe.
All right,
They're
so
both listed.
If you guys are co-trustees, just make sure you get with a great accountant. And if you need a referral to one, we'll be happy to give you one. You want someone to do a good 4506T transcript request on your mom's tax return, because if you're agreeing to serve as mom's representative, her successor trustee, you and brother are personally on the hook for her tax liability. That means you guys want to know that all her taxes were settled and perfect. And you say, well, my mom always paid her taxes. She did everything perfectly, timely every year. That doesn't stop her from being subject to fraud. A lot of times what we're seeing are cases where people who diligently did their taxes, there were amended fraudulent returns filed behind their back. You want to go back and look through the statute of limitations on that and make sure that there's nothing like that in your mom's tax history. So get with a great accountant. You're going to need one anyway to get the EIN number for the trust, since the previous trust was probably under your mom's social, and you can't do any business under a deceased person's social. So at this point, you're going to need a good accountant. If you need a referral to one, let me know. We'll give you a number. But I would say taxes, make sure her bills get paid, and then make sure you account to all the beneficiaries. Are the only beneficiaries you and brother?
No, brother and 2 sisters.
Yeah, I think make sure you give sisters their full report, their notice within 60 days of accepting the role of trustee that they're entitled to a copy of the trust. Just standard procedure. Keep them in the loop. There's fiduciary duties that often get kind of lost in the wash here, Mike, because you're in that, family mindset. You're grieving the loss of a mother. And it's easy to forget the fact that now that new relationship with your sisters is you're their fiduciary as the trustee. You owe them a duty to maximize their benefit at every turn. And that's a key goal to keep in mind. They're still sisters, and you need to love on them the same way you would when you lose a parent. But at the end of the day, remember, you have this new role where you have fiduciary obligations to them.
Gotcha. So well said. Thanks. As far as that form again, I need that they'll be filing with the accountant. What is it again called?
It's a transcript request form that the accountant will have you sign so they can obtain the documents. It's a 4506-T. But again, I'm not an accountant. If you call your accountant and he calls the form something else, listen to them.
Okay, definitely. And it's an EIN number that they'll need to, and then does that all get filed? Then the actual trust gets filed with the county or with the state?
No, the trust will remain private. Now, if there's a trust, there's usually a pour-over will that accompanies it. And under statute 732-901, the will portion, not the trust will remain private, but the will portion was due to be put on deposit within 10 days of the date of your mother's death.
Okay, and when you say put on deposit, that means filed with the state?
Put on deposit with the probate court in the county of your mother's venue. Yeah, your mother's residency. Yes.
Probate court. Okay, and that's the pour over will. And even if there's nothing that poured over?
Yeah, even if you're not opening a probate, you still put the will on deposit. And you'll need a death certificate without the cause of death to accompany the will for that.
Of course. Awesome. Well, appreciate you breaking it down to me. So,
not a problem.
So well there.
What station are you listening on?
102.5, The Bone.
All right. Well, we appreciate you and all our other Bone listeners out there. So thank you, Mike, for calling in.
All right. Thanks, Patrick. Have a good one.
You too. All righty. 877-943-9673. Give us a call now. I'm Attorney Patrick Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. 877-943-9673. Today we're talking all things presidential raid related to the Monday, August 8th raid of former President Trump's home. And we've been talking about the standards for this, a judge believing there's probable cause that a crime was committed, that this is supposedly an alleged violation of the Presidential Records Act. And we went over the list of items that were discovered and how there were some that were confidential, some that were secret, some that were top secret, and how these were different tiered items of clearance regarding confidential, meaning that the release of the information would cause some damage to the national security, that secret would cause serious damage, and that top secret would cause grave damage. So if you have a comment or any thought on the raid of former President Trump's home, feel free to call in, or with any other legal question, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. All right, next we're going to Tampa. We're going to talk to Tony. Tony, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
How you doing?
Great, Tony. How can we help you today?
If I was in Congress, I would say one thing. Why are you so scared of Donald? Why does he scare the heck out of you so much that you have to go after one person like this, unlike any other president before? As a Democrat, I look at it and say, that's pretty embarrassing. I kind of agree with like Bill Maher, where it's like, we look bad doing what we're doing. It really looks bad. So anyways, that's my opinion, but I have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead, Tony. Great opinion, by the way. I listen, I hear what you're saying, and I see from the Democrat standpoint, the playbook here. I don't see a lot of success that the Democrats have to point at, so that's why I think they're going after Trump. And I don't know if that's a commentary on the current administration or the leadership of Congress, but they're not able to beat that drum of here's what we've done to make America better in the last couple of years. And so I think that's why they're focusing on the big targets like Trump. But
and if you would have just left it alone, he was falling on his own. January 6th was on. I mean, he was done. You just made him emboldened, and now he's probably going to do even better. Anyway, my question for you is: my mother has dementia, and she has a house that's worth about $1.5 million. It's paid off, and she gave me power of attorney, and I just put her in a home, and I'd like to sell the house. Well, I have power of attorney. What's the best way to go about that?
Well, number one, you may want to check into whether or not selling the house is in mom's best interest. If she's in some sort of facility and she may wind up on state aid or be applying for Medicaid or something of that nature, the home can actually be determined to be an exempt asset if it meets certain requirements. But if you've converted it to cash, now it's an exposed asset. So number one, you may want to just sit down with an attorney and make sure that's in mom's best interest. Number two, if it is the best move to sell the home, you just got to look at the power of attorney and make sure it's current and make sure it gives you the authority to sell the home. Now, when I say that, if this is mom's primary residence, her homestead, under Florida Statute 709, our Power of Attorney Act here in Florida, that power must be specifically given and initialed or signed by the principal giving you that authority. So they cannot simply sign at the end of the document any longer to grant what we call special powers, or more colloquially, we call them superpowers. And one of those powers is the power to sell the homestead property.
She did put me on the deed of the house about a year ago.
Be careful with that too, Tony. If she just put your name on the deed directly and you paid nothing, be aware that can trigger gift taxes, because there's a present interest annual exclusion. I think last year it was $15,000. This year I think it's $16,000. You want to make sure that that wasn't the case, or that the requisite 709 was filed and there was an allocation of unified credits. I'm not a big fan of kids' names getting added to parents' properties, because number one, you can lose part or all of the homestead. Number two, if that child then is in a divorce or a car accident and gets sued, that child's liability now becomes the parent's problem to a certain extent. So I think it's a risky strategy.
Now, I'm in Tampa. Where are you guys in Tampa too?
I have an office there in South Hillsborough and Sun City Center, and I also have one in Clearwater.
Oh, cool. Okay, I'd like to know that. I appreciate that.
All
okay,
right.
You have a great show, and thanks for taking my call.
Tony, thank you. I appreciate it. And I'll give out the office number here in a little bit.
All right, thank you.
All righty. You're listening to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. And by the way, next week on the show, we're going to have my good friend, actually my high school buddy, Attorney Matthew Kendall, on talking all things criminal law. Maybe we'll do a little follow-up about this, since there's a little criminal law tinge to this raid of former President Trump's home. So make sure you tune in next week for Attorney Matthew Kendall, who'll be our special guest, taking all your criminal law topics. To reach us at the office during the week, that number, toll free to schedule in Clearwater, Sun City Center, our brand new Sarasota office. I'll be there on Tuesday. So if you want to schedule for our Sarasota location, 877-754-6764. Again, that toll-free number to schedule for any of our office locations in Clearwater, Sarasota, Sun City Center, any of our Lake County offices, 877-754-6764. Or you can always email me for an appointment, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com, or just submit it directly through the website, attorneypatricksmith.com. All righty, 877-943-9673 to be part of today's show. Next, we're going back to my home county of Polk County, and we're going to talk to Judy in Lakeland. Judy, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Hey, Judy, you there?
I wanted to comment on the raid.
Go ahead.
The judge who issued the warrant, wasn't he located? He's a D.C. judge, isn't he?
He's a federal judge, yes, ma'am.
And I don't think that. I think that kind of puts kind of a bad spotlight on who issued the warrant. I think we need to know more about the judge who issued the warrant, what his political leanings are, things that he's decided in the past.
Oh, did we lose Judy? Oh, Judy, we lost you. I think I know where you were going with that, Judy. I'll try to round out Judy's call. I think she was saying that, there was maybe more political motivation into this, and I don't know that there was. I'm looking at the actual warrant now. It's the United States District Court of the Southern District of Florida, and the signature on it is the Honorable Bruce Reinhart, who's a U.S. magistrate judge down there for the Southern District of Florida. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think most judges, and I certainly think this judge is probably part of that camp, is a matter of, they take their job very seriously, and I don't think they tend to allow political motivation to sort of interfere with their time on the bench and their jurisprudence. I think they just do the best job that they can given the facts and circumstances. And like I said, the standard's not a terribly high one, Judy. It's a matter of, did the judge have probable cause, which is an extremely low standard, as you understand, from our previous conversations with Attorney Matthew Kendall regarding criminal law. So probable cause that a crime was committed, that's a pretty low standard. And remember, so they convene, they put this evidence on in front of the judge, and they just say, Judge, we think there's probable cause. And this particular judge said, yeah, I agree, and issued the warrant so that they could take a look and verify whether or not a crime had been committed. Then the question will come, well, is it time to prosecute? And does this establish a new cycle that we're going to go through, where it's going to be this sort of political weaponization of the judicial process, where an outgoing president is always going to be prosecuted by the incoming president. And if that's a dangerous game to play, I think. And I don't think it's good for the constitutional republic that is the United States. I also don't think it's good for the judiciary. And no, I think the judge here was acting in good faith and doing his due diligence as he believed best under the oath that he took to serve as a judge. So 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. Give us a call now. We're live and local, happy to help any way we can. I'm Attorney Patrick Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. And now we're going to John in Lutz. John, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Hi. Well, I have a homestead property. All the other properties have been sold prior to my wife's death. I'm a widower. Okay. I have no natural children and I have no adopted children, but I have a stepdaughter. And what I would want to do is if I died, I'd want to leave the property to my 2 step-grandchildren and my brother and sister. So I would want to bypass my father. Is a trust or a will the best way to do that?
I think you can achieve the goal either way. I think the question is whether or not you want them to potentially have to go through the probate process, or if you want to ensure that they're going to bypass the probate process. If you want to make certain of that, I think that you go with the trust route to make sure not only they bypass probate, but also to make sure that there's a good incapacity plan to manage the property should John lose his faculties prior to death. I think that's one of the big advantages to having a trust that often gets overshadowed by avoiding probate. A will is only going to help you when you're deceased. The trust is going to help you if you pass away or if you lose your faculties prior to death. You pick a successor trustee to take over it and captain your family's financial ship. The statistics tell us, John, that most people are incapacitated for some period prior to their passing. And they also tell us that the final 30 to 90 days of someone's life are the most expensive days they'll ever live. So having someone you've pre-selected to captain that family's financial ship can go a long way to reduce and eliminate a lot of major expenses and preserve those assets for you and your family.
Okay, but I'm referring to me. My desire to leave the property. If I died now without a will, it would go to my father and mother. I don't want it to go to my father and mother. I want it to go to my brother, sister, and 2 step-grandchildren.
Yeah, the goal of omitting mom and dad and having go to brother, sister, and 2 step-grandchildren can be achieved with either a simple will or a simple trust. It's a matter of whatever your particular druthers are, John.
Okay.
All right, John?
All right. Okay, so if I did the trust route, though, that would be more complicated to change later, and it would trigger reevaluating my homestead property, though, right?
Not necessarily, and that's why we offer a free consultation. So I'll give out the office number here before the end of the show, John. If you want to come into the office free of charge, we'll walk through all the more financially intimate details about your estate in the privacy of the office and sort of go over everything and give you our official recommendations.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, John. All right, you're listening to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, 877-943-9673. Today we're talking all things related to the raid of former President Trump's home. We've had a thorough discussion on the standard for issuing the warrant, the actual warrant, the inventory, discussion on the difference between confidential, secret, and top secret. Sort of a very thorough walkthrough on it, what exactly happened over the last week, and culminating with the release of the actual search warrant signed by Judge Reinhart yesterday late in the afternoon. So if you have a question or a comment on that or any other legal question, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. And again, to reach me at the office during the week for your complimentary consultation for any of the office locations, Sarasota, the brand new office, Sun City Center, Clearwater, or our Lake County offices in Claremont or the Villages, 877-754-6764, 877-754-6764. But to be part of the show today, 877-943-9673. Next, we're going back to Tampa. We're going to talk to RJ. RJ, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Hey, how you doing today?
Great, RJ. How can we help?
I'm just commenting on the raid. I mean, I think that as a citizen, the way the country is split into two completely separate camps, it's just ridiculous how one news cycle can look at the raid and see it in one light, and another news cycle looks at it in another light, and the truth is just getting so skewed in the middle. I mean, personally, there's absolutely no reason for the president, our former president, to have had any documents dealing with the White House national security at all. And I can't believe that that's not what's the headline of topics, as opposed to how or why the FBI went in to retrieve those documents. It just makes no sense to me.
So you don't think it's politically motivated at all? You think the better question here is, why would a former president want to keep anything, any records from his days in the presidency? Is that what I hear you saying, RJ?
Absolutely. Anything of national secrets or that could be detrimental to the country's, security.
Yeah, and I think that's the critical question. Were these items still, even though they were initially labeled such at the time he took them, were they still that status? Because like we were saying, confidential, top secret items that are classified can be declassified with the stroke of the president's pen, which is what the Trump camp is saying, is that the alleged classified documents have been declassified. So there's really, even though you look at the document and it says classified, it's not, because it had been declassified by the president after the fact. I think that's a great point, though, RJ. Why would you hold on to the past? What is so special about these items that you want to keep them in your records? That's a great point.
That's all I had today.
All right, RJ, we appreciate you calling in. What station are you listening on?
102.5.
All right. Well, thank you for listening out there. We appreciate it, RJ. All righty, you're listening to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Next, we are going to Brian in Kissimmee. Brian, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Hey, Brian, you there? Hey, Brian? All righty, I think we lost Brian. Next, we are going to go to Lutz, and we're going to talk to Robert. Robert, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Yes, good morning, sir. Thank you so much for this wonderful program. I look forward to it every week.
Well, I appreciate your kind words, Robert. How can we help you today?
Now, I've got a silly question, a simple question, and why in this day of technology are not any records put on thumb drive or compact disc or in the cloud or whatever they call it, and it's all in paper boxes with paper files? It seems ridiculous. How can that happen?
Well, that's a fantastic point, Robert. I mean, think about that. Think about what information the president has access to that the usual citizen does not. Now, why?
I think it's maybe they were hoarding toilet paper or something during the pandemic.
So you think they opened the safe and that's what they found was toilet paper that they were hoarding from the pandemic? Well,
yes, I think it's something as petty as that, or they're planting things, as we know, because why isn't it just on a tiny little thumb drive that you can put in your pocket instead of these great big heavy boxes, 40 pounds a piece with, as you know, paper files? Ridiculous.
Well, let's agree. They opened the safe and only found toilet paper. That would have been a pretty crappy outcome for them. But at the end of the day, I think that's a great point, though. Why would someone with the highest level of security clearance, the President of the United States, say, I want to keep these in hard copy and not in a digital format? Maybe buried within that, there's some commentary about the security of digital formatting and digital records keeping. So I don't know. Maybe we're reading too much into it, Robert, but that's the first time I've heard anyone make that point, and it's a fantastic point. Why not just have a thumb drive that you can put anywhere? You could keep it on your person at any time, have it in your coat pocket, and then you have your home completely empty. So there's a reason why these were kept in hard copy form, and that's a great, fantastic point, Robert.
It's crazy because here I am at 78 years old. I got my first smartphone just the other day, and I'm learning furiously how to use it because my Verizon account's going to be shut down because it's old-fashioned 3G, and I don't know anything about computers, but I do know that people have these thumb drives. You see them on spy shows all the time. Why not use that? It's ridiculous. You don't walk around kicking your way through a burning building with boxes of paper files.
That's a great point, Robert. I got to let you go. I got to try to wrap up the show. I got about a minute left, okay?
Okay.
Thanks
Thank
for calling
you so
in.
much,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
God bless.
All righty, Bernie and Kissimmee. I've got about a minute. Can you make it super fast, Bernie?
Yeah, okay, Patrick. I'm calling about my mother's will. She passed about 3 months ago, and I'm the executor of her estate. And I.
Hey, Bernie, do you have an attorney representing you at the moment?
Not at the moment. I had an attorney review the will.
All right, Bernie, I'm going to have you hold. I'm going to pick you up off the air because I've got 30 seconds or less to wrap up the show,
Okay.
and I want to make sure I give you the best answer I can and not some hurried version of it, okay? So just hold the line. I'll pick you up. Everyone else, this is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. Thank you all you faithful Attorney Patrick Show listeners for tuning in and chiming in with your comments on the Trump raid. We'll be back with you next week. Our special guest, Attorney Matthew Kendall, 877-943-9673. Stay safe. God bless. Go Gators.
The preceding was sponsored by